Hello and welcome. I'm Ethan or TheEreader. This is season 1, episode 33 of the TheEreader podcast. And today, I will be talking about my top 5 favorite authors. Hello, welcome back to my channel. Just a quick note before I start with my authors. I am doing a read through of Wheel Time. And I'm posting them on my channel. So if you want to listen to me read real time, then you can listen to that on my channel. I'm not the best reader for any stretch of imagination, but I've never read this book before, and I just want to read it out loud to my audience. But I know there's better audiobooks on YouTube. I'm not really doing it for people to watch them. So anyway, um, my top 5 favorite authors. I will go from my fifth place to my first. Um, I guess we just get started. There's three things that make a good author for me. Number one, their material, their books specifically. Number two, how they are in person. I don't really know how they are specifically in person, but interviews, are they good person interviews and things like that. Oh wait, not three. There's only two. Those two things. So their books or how they are as a person in interviews and things like that. Are they humorous? Are they just anything about them in interviews? So my fifth place person. Oh, sorry. Before I really get into this, I have to have read at least two books by these authors. At least two. So the fifth place person, coming at number 5, is JRR Tolkien. We don't have really many interviews of him, but he just seems like a really nature based guy. He's not my first place, but he's fifth. He's really up there. It's more specifically the material that he writes that makes me want that he's my fifth place person. He's just his material so it talks a lot about friendship, and I just love the points and morals he has in his story. Yeah, people say he's a lot of detailed about nature and things, but that's what's good about his stories. You really get a sense of where they are, what they're looking at, what it smells like. And that's why I love J.R.R. Tolkien. I love his writing, and I'm not specifically talking about Hobbit or Lord of the Rings. Like I read Baron and Luthien, his other book that was in the Silmarillion, and that book was really good. That was quite good too. It's just that I love his writing style, and yeah. I'm not saying I completely believe with all his beliefs either. I don't really know his beliefs, so I'm not saying that. Coming out number 4 is Andy Weir. I said at the start only two books at least because Andy Weir only has two books out, and I've read both of them, The Martian and Artemis. The Martian is very popular. Has made a movie. It has a movie with Matt Damon, I think his name is. I've always have been a huge sci-fi fan, and I found that a lot of sci-fi wasn't what I wanted. Wasn't non-fictional enough. It wasn't to the real world, and that's what Andy Weir gave me when I first read The Martian. He he really gave you like this is real. Like this is not really a sci-fi like oh like gun blasters like Star Wars or something. It's real. Like this could be a real thing that happens in the next 5-10 years. That's what's so good about his writing. It's non-fictional. It's a non-fictional fiction. Like this could be a real thing that happens in 5 years time. Person going on the moon or Mars, but Artemis too going. They have a base on the moon. That's something that's really non-fictional that could happen, and that's why I love that's why I love Andy Weir so much. Also in interviews, he seems such like a down to earth person. He seems so nice, and I saw an interview with Andy Savage and Chris Hadfield, and he just seems just like such a nice person. So next, coming in at number 3 is Brandon Sanderson. I know I've only read 2 books by him. I've only read Mistborn and The Well of Ascension, but his writing is just so amazing. Mistborn's up there, probably my favorite fantasy book I've ever read. It's just so good. And then back to the interview part, I love watching his live signings. I watched one a few days ago. Um, and he's just like he's really into his fandom. He really says like, "Oh, I'm 40% into this book." He's very immersive, is what I'm trying to say, in his fan in it to his fans, and that's what I really like. Like some authors are just like they tell you a year, 2 years later, like, "Oh, this book's coming out," but Brandon Sanderson says like, "I'm 40% done this book," which I love. I want all authors to do this. So that's pretty much all I gotta say about Brandon Sanderson. And next, Rick Riordan. Obviously, number two is him. I've read him ever since I was 8, 9. I I first read. I just remember them. Like I went into um a bookstore and I picked up Percy Jackson because like I've heard it was really popular, and I just like remember that first line. Like I wish. Look, I didn't want to be a demigod. That line right there really just immersed you in the book from the first word. That writing, that humor in that book was just what I've always wanted in a book before I read that. And then next in interviews, he just seems like a fun person. He was a English teacher, and like this is a guy like I want him as my English teacher. He's a fun guy. He talked about how he dressed up as Greek people when he was teaching Greek mythology, and that's just like that. He just seems like a really fun guy that you just want him as your English teacher. You just want him in your life, which it just like yeah, just so many interview moments and so many stories that he's told that just you really want him to be your teacher. And number one, the moment you've all been waiting for, probably not. Some people might know because in the picture, as you see right now, because you can't see me, but you can see the picture with my bookshelf. The shelf that takes up one whole shelf is Stephen King. Stephen King, I've read 5 of his books, I think, and I'm reading my 6th right now, which is Under the Dome. His Stephen King. Oh my god, I have so much to say about him. His horror is like his writing is amazing, but he's not just horror. He's thriller and he's fantasy, like in the Dark Tower, which you should really read the Dark Tower. I'm gonna read the 3rd book soon. Um, just he writes so well that just you really want to see what they end. There's no boring parts in any of his books that I found. Misery, amazing book from first word to the end. No boring parts. If you pick up the book, I will be thoroughly surprised if you find a part that's boring in there. Every part you're on the edge of your seat. And every part in Misery, you're just you're like, what's gonna happen, and you're scared for this character. The Shining as well. Like the you're so scared for these characters, and that's why Stephen King is so good at writing. And then to the second part of what I was talking about is interviews. He seems like an hilarious person in real life. I saw an interview moment. You can go search it up. He was talking to a university group, and a guy was introducing him, and the host was like he has uh like many movies based on his books, and Stephen King's like not all of them good, and that's just like a small thing that was just quite hilarious. Like giving like saying like wow most of my movies aren't that good, and that's his humor is so good and he's funny. He doesn't seem like a mean guy or a guy who would make fun of you or things like that. So those are my top 5 favorite authors. I might do this every year because they might change. I'm reading Wheel of Time right now, as I said at the start, so Robert Jordan might become one of my favorite, or I'm reading Name of the Wind, so Patrick Rothfuss. There's many. I want to read more of Michael Crichton, so he might be up there. So I might do it every year, see if my list changed, because things are going to change. My favorites are going to change as I read better books and new books. So, thanks for listening. This has been my top 5 favorite fantasy authors. Has been season 1, episode 33 of the E-Reader podcast. Thanks for listening. See you next time.